Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mouse Diva channel. It's an update for Reindeer Readathon.
Moving pictures. Hello there, moving pictures.
What's up, Doc?
I've been all around the world. Every city, every place. Always been a restless girl.
So if you saw my Reindeer Readathon announcement vlog, you know that this is the first readathon I have ever participated in. And I told you in that video that I was going to update you about halfway through the month, and we are at halfway through the month. But first of all, I want to acknowledge my Bucky shirt and my Bucky socks that kind of match because I got an advent calendar and one of our recent trips to Bucky's, and I'd already opened day one on my Instagram account, the Mouse Diva. What is wrong with my speech today? My gosh, am I having a stroke right on camera? All right, let's try that again. Well, shoot, well now I don't even know the last thing I said when I fumbled all my words. Instagram. I opened this on Instagram. Do you follow me on Instagram? Well, and those were the socks I got. But I thought today I'd go ahead and open them on this. Oh my. It says push here, and I'm pushing, and I'm pushing, and nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. Okay, there we go. Ooh! So I'll just do a picture of Instagram, on Instagram of these. Ooh! These are pretty cool. I like the whole, like, teal color there. That's not really teal. That's, more blue. Aqua color. Kind of? What do you think? What color? I like it. Okay, so let's get to the update. So I did not start with the book. I said my dog is sniffing. Actually, my daughter's dog was just sniffing at me. I guess he wanted to make partial appearance. Anyway, I did not start with the book that I had intended to start with because one night I'm like, okay, I want to start reading, but I want to start with a smaller book because I want to be able to finish it and get in the groove. Go, okay, I got this. Let's get to book number 2 instead of starting with a larger book going, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. Even if the book was good. Okay, so the first book I actually started was actually the first prompt, Dasher, for 15 points. Read a book where the title contains one of the first words you see in the word grid on page 4. Must be a word from that list. So the first book I completed was the Book of Charlie. My word was book. So as you can see, a pretty thin book. I got through it really quickly, and I took so many notes on this book because it's nonfiction. You know, wisdom from the remarkable American life of a 109-year-old man. Now, this book was more of kind of a history lesson. I mean, it did talk about a lot of things that happened in his life, but it talked more about what was going on in the world during a little snippet of what was happening in his life. But there are a few pages I want to point out. So right on page 52, and you know, because, you know, this is a Disney channel also, I had to bring this up because I was so shocked to see a reference to Walt Disney. So, the same year Charlie and his friends finished high school, a young artist a few years older named Walt Disney was trying to get a business started not far from Charlie's house, working in a new art form known as animation, Disney sold a series of short films to the Newman Theater downtown, cartoon commentaries on local issues that Disney called laugh-o-grams. And then it goes on a little bit more about the theater there in Kansas City. So there's times where him and his friends hopped a train because they ran out of money and they needed to get back home. And that whole thing about hopping the train and their experiences was very interesting. And that part of the book kind of reminded me, hey, this is like Andrew McCarthy's book where he traveled across Spain with his son. Now, I haven't read the book. I purchased it. I haven't read it yet. But those are the types of books I really like, is like these cross-country trips and their experiences, or just road trips and people's real experiences. So if you can recommend any book like that that you enjoyed, comment below, because I love those types of books, because that's something I want to do one day, is just hop in a car and go and have all these cool experiences. Yeah, one day, when I don't have to work anymore. Although, if I keep buying books, I'll be working forever. And then I get to page 80, and oh my gosh, again! The same place where Walt Disney's short films had played a few months earlier, and blah, blah, blah. So, bringing up Disney again. So, if you watch my family channel, Life's a Whirlwind, you know I have a small series called Stories Within the Stones, where I visit cemeteries and graveyards and tell the stories of some of the people that are buried there. Well, this got my attention. He's talking about his fraternity. I remember they took me out at night about 10 or 15 miles out of town to a graveyard and said, you've got to find this guy's name and date of birth, date of death. They left me at about midnight, and I had to wander all around this graveyard all by myself, looking at the grave markers to get this guy's name, and then walk back to town. I don't know. I guess it was about 15 miles. It was probably only a mile out of town, but it seemed like 15 miles to me. Can you imagine, like, part of, like, your fraternity whole thing is like, hey, we're going to drop this guy off at the cemetery and at midnight all by himself. Can you imagine? Oh, my God. So, this Charlie, he was a doctor, ended up being a doctor. Things were done a little bit crudely back in the day. And he talks about a gangster that had been shot. At least I think he had been shot. So he's digging into, and part of their training was riding around with the ambulances at the time. So digging into the ambulance supplies, Charlie produced a length of rubber tubing and 2 IV needles, plunging one needle into his own arm and the other into the arm of the dying man. Charlie watched as the rubber tube filled with Charlie's blood. Whether the patient and his would-be healer had compatible blood types would never be known, because the rash experiment failed to save the wounded man. Yes, you heard that right. So the paramedics were trying to do, the other guys were trying to do something. He's like, oh, he needs a blood transfusion. So he plunges it into his own arm. Let me just tell you one more thing. And like, I don't want to tell you the whole book, and I won't do this for the other ones. I'm just doing this for this one, but because the stories are just so unreal. So when they're training and they didn't have like, they had volunteers that would say, yes, you can take my tonsils out. They would get paid or something like that, to, you know, because you don't need your tonsils, blah blah blah. And whoever was supposed to come, and they didn't show up. And so Charlie goes, well, hey, I still have my tonsils. You can take my tonsils out. And that's what they did. It was part of training. He didn't need his tonsils out. But he was like, yeah, okay, take my tonsils out. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, so it did not take me long to finish this book at all. So the next book I completed was, or the next prompt, was the Cupid prompt. Read a book that has multiple points of view. So I got 15 points for reading The Keeper of Happy Endings. Now, I wanted to read, and this one was thick. This is almost 400 pages, but like in my other video, I picked like 2 or 3 books that my friend had loaned me months and months and months ago, and I haven't got around to reading them, and I was like, I've got to get some of them done so I can get them returned to her. And The Keeper of Happy Endings is one of them. And guys, read it. I haven't given a book a 5-star in, I don't even remember the last time. This got a 5-star. This is how bad it was. So I got home from work after midnight. Couldn't go straight to bed because I'm like wide open, and I'm like, oh, I'll read. And I read until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore to about 2:45 a.m. And then I took the book to work with me the next night and read it on my breaks, which is something I never do, because I normally, when I'm on break, I'm just talking to everybody else, blah, 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 running my mouth. But I went in a corner, read some more. Came home that night and read till I finished it. It was 4:06 when I finished this book, because I couldn't put it down. So 2 days, almost 400 pages, got it done. Historical nonfiction. I mean, it's a historical fiction book, which is one of my favorite. If it's not nonfiction, I want historical fiction. This was so, so good. 5-star. The next prompt was Rudolph. And Rudolph is 20 points. Read a book that came out before you were born, or a book that came out in 2023. Well, I have plenty of classics, and one of the classics I have is a Penguin Classics. This is either 62 or 52. 1962? When were you written? 52 or 62? 1962. And I got this book in my literary box, subscription box. It was the Halloween box, but they put in like an extra book. And this was the extra book. Horrible. I went from reading this 5-star, 1 star. I don't think I've ever given a book a 1 star. 1 star. First of all, at the beginning of the book, she keeps repeating herself like a lot. Like the character keeps repeating herself. And it was just odd. And people, I'm odd and unusual, but this was just, I mean, I finished it because it's a thin book. Mainly because there's a little bit of mystery there. And kind of a whodunit. It's a whodunit. And I, was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know who did this. So I kept reading just to make sure I was right. Because there can be a spin, a twist that throws you off. But I was right. Oh. And this is like it's like a classic and gets all these rave reviews. We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. No. No, 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 no. Alright, so those are the 3 I have completed so far. And how many books are there? 10? 10 or 10 books maybe? I don't know. But I have also started and am halfway through, that's about halfway, Someone Else's Shoes. And this was the prompt for a book you would not normally read, whichever one that one was. Let's see. And I had told myself that I was going to read this last in case I have time for a 500-page book. Is this 500 pages? It's not 500 pages. Oh, okay. I'm talking in riddles here, I know. So, let's get back. This is Vixen. Read a book you have been putting off. So, I have been putting this one off because it was so thick, but it is one that my friend had loaned me. And it's also, this one would also go for the Christmas tree prompt. A book that you would not normally read. This is not something I would normally pick up. So I was going to get those extra points for that too. And like I said, I'm halfway through. It's keeping my interest. You know, it's basically a contemporary book. And what I meant by 500 is because this was the thickest book on my TBR for this readathon. And I thought, well, because one of the other bonus prompts is reading a book that is over 500 pages. Oh, the Christmas Star prompt. You get 25 points if you read a book over 500 pages. And since this one is 435 pages, I thought, well, if it seems like I'm going to have time to finish this, I should be able to have time to finish a 500-page book, which I would go to my shelves and find a 500-page book. But again, since this was one of hers, I wanted to get it done, and halfway through, so I will get it done. So not bad. You know, I'm not doing bad. They are smaller books, except this almost 400-page one. Not doing bad. So, if you've ever done a readathon, comment below and let me know which one you have done, because I'm liking this and I want to keep doing readathons at this point. So, if you know of any, let me know. Comment below. Until the next page.